Well, that escalated quickly. Welcome everybody to another ECH post-game live after a shootout win for the Kraken. I don't know that those words can even really go together, but Seattle wins a shootout, a big win for them. I think emotionally for a lot of the guys, and Chandler Stevenson with the shootout winner. And after the game, he says to Piper Shaw, right down there, he says, we wanted to get one for Gruby tonight. And I think that's ultimately kind of what the Kraken do, summoning this effort for their goaltender, Philip Grubauer, who starts probably his last game of the season. I'd say probably his last game ever as a Seattle Kraken. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But I think that's kind of the most significant part of this win, and good for Grubauer himself, who I think really bounced back in the shootout after allowing a goal on the first two shots, went on to be perfect after that. And so feel good for him after this one. That's got to be a relief for Philip Grubauer. And of course, before we get into chat here, I want to thank our wonderful sponsor, Queen Anne Beer Hall. There they are up in the corner. A wonderful place to watch every single Kraken game. And I know we want to have some awesome watch parties, at the beer hall for playoff games too, because the playoffs are right around the corner. Only one Kraken game left this season, but we still got the Stanley Cup playoffs. I know Dylan and I definitely want to get out to the beer hall and be able to watch some of the playoff games with all of you, but want to thank Queen Anne Beer Hall for sponsoring all of these post-game live shows. So let's dive right into chat after this win. And Jamin, they won a shootout. I know, I can't believe it. And they did it, unfortunately, I think, without Adam Larson shooting. As it went to 7 rounds, I thought maybe there was a chance. Allison Lucan brought that up to Dan about a couple weeks ago or so, but Dan had been asked about it recently. I was wondering if maybe it would enter into his mind. He ends up not going with Lars, even though, as I was looking through round 6, round 7, everybody on the bench was just kind of sitting down on the bench, leaning over. Lars was standing up. He was ready to go. I'm telling you, got to have him shoot once, but it's okay. It's okay. I'll get over it. They won. They go with Chandler Stevenson. I think actually a good choice. He's been pretty automatic on breakaways this year. And Stevie just snipes Jordan Binnington 5-hole. I like that shot selection there from Stevenson. But Kraken actually win a shootout. I can't believe it. And then super chat here from Light. Thank you for the super chat. First one of the night. Gru had a good game. Don't think the shot count does justice to the shots that went in. Yeah, I thought Philip Grubauer had a good one in this one. He was solid, kind of all the way around. I felt like it was low scoring for a while, and then things just kind of went crazy in the third period. And look, you can talk about whether it was him or not on some of the later ones, but the defense in front of him, man, nobody was really focused defensively on either team for like a 7 or 8 minute stretch, and just felt like everything was going in. That first one was tough because, like, yes, it's a bad angle, but he's diving across to just try and get square to it, and it kind of goes in off his pad. I don't blame him on that one. Like, that can happen to any goalie. But overall, I thought Grubauer was solid in this one, gave his team a chance to win. They won. So I think he did his job in this one for sure. Super chat here from Amanda. Didn't think we'd end the season warm-ish on Stevie and Berkey. I know, Berkey especially. I didn't really expect that, especially as he was, I felt, kind of in healthy scratch territory for a little while. But he has played quite well over the last month or so of the season. I think he's probably played his way out of a buyout this offseason. So feeling better about Berkey, and I mean about Stevenson. Like, again, he's been automatic on breakaways. He certainly has been playing better. I think he's certainly no longer a liability to this team, and he is, he helps more than he hurts, that's for sure. And he is producing, so that's another good thing to see with him. And again, just love his shot selection on breakaways. I think that's one of the areas of his game that just has been almost automatic this year. And Jen, as I was saying with that, I've always liked Stevie. I just never liked the contract, and still don't. Totally understand that perspective. And that's the thing. I don't even necessarily have anything, against Stevenson. Even when he wasn't playing well, it was just a matter of, the contract and everything. But he has been doing a lot better than he was earlier on this season. So thank you again for the super chat, Amanda. And just good to see those guys kind of trending upward as the season goes on. I mean, I think it would be kind of rough and pretty negative too if those two guys just stayed bad all year. I think you kind of hate to see that. Let's see, going back up to the top of chat. Let's see. Earhead 6, down goes Team Tank. Shame to give the Blues a point, but that was fun, regardless of draft position damage. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're, we talk about losing fun. If you're going to win, you should probably win fun. And I think this game was in real danger of not being a fun win. It was just I thought it was one of the more boring games of the season, really, for a long time. And then in the third period, when everything went crazy, I think it kind of redeemed itself this game. So it was good to see that. And I think, you win fun. It is tough for Team Tank. I'm trying to look at the standings and kind of see what the damage is here. Yeah, I mean, Boston's going to have to get 3 points to, no, I mean, 4 points to potentially pass you here. The Boston's going to have to win both of their remaining games. I don't really see that happening. So the fourth spot is probably out. And then Philly could, they're only a point back, with 3 games to go. So you could still probably move up realistically as high as 5. But, you win the next one and you're in real danger of moving into, 7th or 8th in the old draft lottery position rank. So it's going to be tough. Like another win would really hurt them, I think, but we'll see, but if you win on fan appreciation night, I don't think anyone's having a bad time, for that one either. So we'll see where it goes. And then, they have the lottery, so you never know what happens there. Lindsay, if that was Grubauer's final game in a Kraken sweater, then that's a good way to go out. I agree. I think, if it does have to be the end for Philip Grubauer, I think that's a great memorable moment and a way to go out. And I think, what, it's kind of indicative too of, his general tenure here. Because, you had that third period where it seemed like it was going to go quite bad. He does end up allowing 3 goals on 23 shots and having a save percentage that's maybe a little bit worse than how he's played. And then also he kind of picks it up at the end. And I think that's really, if this is the last game for Philip Grubauer, I think it's worth noting, really, the last 5 or 6 games, he picked it up at the end. Like since coming back from CV, he has played well. Not just like better than he has before, not just not bad. He has played well. No qualifier. I think that's just, that's worth noting if this is the last one for Grubauer in Seattle. Bryce, is Jimmy Snuggerud a top 5 hockey name? There's some really good hockey names out there, but it's a good one. It's a good one for sure. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I can come up with some interest. All time, no. In the NHL right now, possibly, maybe there's a chance. Lindsay, the Lindsays were right. Schwartz scored this game. That's right. Absolutely called it. And the other Lindsay in here as well. We called it vindication. Love that from the Lindsays. I was just predicting it. Lindsay Stradamus. No, that doesn't really work. But good job, Lindsays. Nicole's Gaming in the shootout released the Kraken. I know it still feels weird. Shootout win. Let's see. JB the fourth, tanking be damned. If that was Gru's last game, I'm glad he went out with a dub. Yeah, I think that's one of the games that, you'll remember, I think, for a long time. Certainly if he is bought out this summer, that's just going to be one of those kind of Kraken core memories as we think of, the guy who really was the Kraken starting goalie from the beginning, and had a long career. He's still the Kraken all-time leader in wins. And, it'll probably take till at least, midway, maybe a little before midway next season before Joey Decord can pass him there. But, Grubauer still has basically all the team goaltending records, counting stat wise. Chris, good for Gru. Glad he helped us get started. Excited to see who backs up Joey from here on out. Yeah, it'll be interesting off season to see, if they have to go get somebody, probably a free agent, and there's just a number of directions they could go. And then Kraken Queen, love the Gru chant echoing during the shootout. That was great. I love the fans just getting into it, getting behind Philip Grubauer in this one. You could tell that, as Stevenson said, they wanted to get one for Gruby. I think the fans wanted that as well. And it seemed like the Grus just got louder and louder as the game went on. It was one of the cool parts of just the atmosphere being here in person, hearing the whole crowd get behind him, which is, again, really nice. And if it's the way he goes out, it's a good way to go out, I think. George saying top 4 odds still possible yet. It ain't over. But yeah, it was a terrible game for our lottery odds. Definitely lottery odds taking a hit tonight. But I feel like most people in chat here don't seem to mind. So that is nice here. I think you never want to, with a dramatic win that could be a good send off for one of your franchise cornerstone players from the start. I feel like you can't complain about the lottery odds for that one specifically. We'll see where they end up. But this isn't. If we look back at the season and the wins that maybe you could have given up in order to have better lottery odds, this isn't going to be one of the ones that really bothers me. Wisconsin Kraken fan, what was your favorite shootout selection? That's a really good question. Thank you for the super chat and thank you for the question. I really like that. So favorite shootout selection. I mean, of course, Stevenson gets the game-winning goal, so I feel like that's kind of the basic answer. So I'm tempted not to go with that one, although it might be my favorite just because he has been automatic on breakaways. I think even last shootout, I maybe suggested going with him as someone to take a shot. But I do like Eli Tolvanen. And I know he's kind of gone before, but the move that he did, that's the backhand, forehand, kind of deke the goalie out, go up high. If that's the move he's going to do, I like that. That's the kind of thing I want to see. That's a way to beat Jordan Binnington, where he's kind of aggressive to start the shootout. So that was my favorite shootout move. And, if you know that that's what he's going to do, then that's my favorite shootout selection. But very good question there, Wisconsin Kraken fan. And thank you again for the super chat. And then we got another super chat here from Edward. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the game of 4 shots on goal a period. It was the game of 4 goals in 4 minutes. What a game for Gruby's possible final game as a Kraken. Well said, Edward, as always from you, Edward, there. Well said. But yeah, I mean, the Kraken finished this one 17 shots on goal. I was kind of rooting for them to set a new franchise record. This ties the franchise record for fewest shots on goal in a game for the Kraken with 17. They've done it like 6 or 7 at least other times. But I thought, man, it'd be cool if you could get a franchise record for fewest shots on goal and a win. I thought that'd be kind of special. And then, yeah, again, this game was really boring for long stretches from the very beginning too. I think it took over 6 minutes for the first shot on goal for either team in this game. And so it was just kind of a snooze fest for a while until in the third period, everything just erupted. And we kind of had a trouble keeping up in the press box. It all just kind of hit us at once. And we were so conditioned to just be ready for a quiet game that we had seen. So it was an interesting roller coaster up top for sure. But thank you for the super chat there, Edward. As we scroll back into chat here. Stratic, Gru should have been given the first star IMO, not no star, read the room, star givers. I feel like that one might have made it not too obvious that he wasn't coming back, but it's just, I don't know, like he gave up 3 goals, and I'm not saying that he didn't play well, but it's one of those where if you're given first star after that game, you're probably thinking, oh man, does everybody know I'm not coming back? I don't know. I feel like that would be too much. Sylvie, Firebirds had a great game tonight too. 2 goals for Newman in the first. Love that. And actually, they put it up on the Twins here. They put it up on the Jumbotron, the Firebirds score, and mentioned that Newman had a couple goals. So that got us talking up in the press box. And again, just love Yanni Newman. He's back to doing his thing in Coachella Valley, and can't wait to see what he's able to do in the playoffs. Queen Anne Beer Hall would have given Gru the first star. I agree, actually. Yes, they certainly would have. And a German beer to go with it. Andy was really hoping Shane was going to get the shootout winner to get 20. Would have been nice. Good send-off and finish to a Seattle time for Gruby. Wish it went better, but ready for the change. So shootout goals actually do not count toward a season goal total. So like the Stevenson goal doesn't count for, I don't remember how many goals he had, but it doesn't count as a goal or a point. All the stuff that in the shootout doesn't go with the regular stats. So it would not have been number 20 for Shane, but it would have been really nice to have him get the shootout winner. That would have been pretty fun. And really, I think the building already was pretty excited on the Grubauer save to end it. But man, if Shane had scored, the pop from the building would have been really cool. Let's see. Coco, I was bummed to miss it, but had a bad cold, got me. Got to rest up for Tuesday. Sorry to hear that, Coco. Hope you feel better soon. And yeah, rest up for Tuesday, fan appreciation night. Hope you're feeling all better for that. It's going to be a fun time. I can't wait. Interesting. Yeah, YouTube short just randomly popping up, huh? Burnt Cram, Kraken played hard. Good to see. First game, I feel whoever makes the decision to put Shane 4C should be let go at 11 minutes in the third, and they hit Gru and 5 Kraken players stood there. Sums up this year. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think when the contact with Grubauer was. Like, I didn't see it. No, because that was when he was 11 minutes in the third. Was that the one where it was kind of on the power play and they kind of did the drive-by and he had some contact with him? There wasn't any response to that, but I feel like you don't want to risk going down another man if you're shorthanded. If it's a different time than what I'm remembering, let me know. But yeah, I mean, 4C Shane Wright again. I mean, hey, he scores a goal in this one. That fourth line generates 2 goals. So, I feel like that'll, kind of make them immune from criticism there. But yeah, don't love seeing 4C Shane Wright, but you know what? That's just the plan this year. That is what the plan is. We can judge it. We can judge it when we figure out how, development ultimately goes for Shane Wright. But I think all we can do right now is just acknowledge that's the plan, that it's an unusual way to handle a young player, but might be right, might be wrong. We'll find out. Really, I think we'll find out a lot next season. For us, Kraken getting more wins but less points this year is just so Seattle Kraken, very much so. Fusion Mix, I stuck with this game because I want to at least say I watched Grubauer's last win at Climate Pledge. I think that's a good reason, certainly, to watch this game. And also, I mean, who knows? It might not be his last win at Climate Pledge, even if it is his last win as a Kraken. You never know what kind of revenge game narratives might happen next season or beyond. So not to try and, take the downside of that, but yeah, Grubauer loves a good revenge game or a revenge playoff series, as we saw a couple years ago. So Daniel just got back from the Silvertips game. Everett won 4-3 in OT. Everett is so good at passing the puck up the ice. Jugnoth did have an assist, but he did miss on multiple stretch pass attempts. Yeah, that one seemed like a great game. I know Dylan wasn't too happy with the Winterhawks losing that one. I know he's rooting for Portland, but great to see Everett getting the win there in overtime. That was pretty cool. We were kind of keeping track of it a little bit at the game here as much as we could, but glad you got to go to the game, Daniel. I'm sure that was a really fun time. Julia, wow, I went in tonight on Team Tank, but the Blues and their fans really pissed me off, and by the end I just wanted to crush them. Gru deserved the dub. Interesting. I mean, if you go back to, I grew up a Sharks fan, so I'm not a fan of the St. Louis Blues. I remember some of the old playoff series with them, but I won't say any more than that. But interesting that they kind of dragged you there into the not rivalry, but dragged you into the wanting a win over them for that reason there, Julia. Andy, Ebbs is talking now about how the players felt bad about Gruby being sent down and feeling responsible, so wanted to get one tonight. Interesting. That's another good quote from Ebbs, and we're going to hear from Dylan at some point soon once the players and coaches are done. Probably in about 10 minutes time or so. I imagine they'll want to talk and give some answers after a big win like this. It probably won't be too quick, but about 10 minutes or so, Dylan will join us here and he can tell us everything that Ebbs said, that the other players said, and then of course Coach Dan said as well. So again, he just, as Fusion Mix saying, that just, it gets the feels. You could tell this one meant a lot to the guys to try and win one for their goaltender. So that's big. Kraken Queen, the first period was pretty sloppy on both sides. I was surprised at how bad the Blues looked, honestly. Yeah, I was too. And I mean, I know Dylan's been kind of telling me, he's like, the Blues are no good, RJ. Like they're, I know you've been all in on them since the coaching change, whatever, but they're not actually good. I was kind of won over to Dylan's side in this one. Like I don't think they're as good as I previously thought. Coaching can only do so much. And I think the lack of talent kind of shown through a little bit in this game. But still, impressive for the Kraken to keep up with it, because the Blues didn't quit. They didn't go away. And especially in the third period, they had a big sense of urgency, and the Kraken kind of hung in there with it. Super chat here from Jessica. Just got in chat. This super is for Striatic. Read the room, star givers. Okay, so we've got more votes for Grubauer. Should be first star there. And I think, seriously, hearing like from Ebbs and from Stevenson how much the guys were playing for him in this one, maybe he deserves first star just for, motivating the rest of the guys as much as he did. It seems like that's really the narrative in this one. I'm glad the players are not being shy about talking about it either. That's great stuff, and I can't wait to hear from Dylan what he has to say. So I think I did push back on it a little bit, Striatic, at first, but I think, what, I'm being won over to that side a little bit more, given how much it clearly seems to me meant to the guys. So thank you for the super chat there, Jessica. And Grubauer is the people's first star, it seems like, in this game. And I think that's just as important. You know what? I think that really is what matters. Going back down in chat here. Daniel also wishing they could have made Gruby first star, but with the third period, it's kind of tough. Talking about the NHL, the best names. Russ going with Elvis Merzlikins. Julia going with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. That's a fantastic one. Terrible Lotus with Ron Tugnut. That's a good one. Vintage one from the 90s, early 2000s. All good candidates there. Oh, we got Dr. KQ, Johnny Gaudreau forever here. Thank you, Kraken, from a Flames fan. They do take 1 point off the St. Louis Blues. Doesn't help the Flames as much as it could have, I guess, with a regulation win, but it is something. And I believe Do the Flames? No, I don't think they have the tiebreaker, right? Like, do they control their own destiny? I'm going to go check the standings right here and see. So they can get to 96 points, 29, 30, 31, 32. Yeah, they do not control their own destiny right now, but still very big for the Kraken to get a win. If the Kraken had lost, that would have been a huge blow to Calgary's playoff hopes. But like, they're in it. They're in it, especially if the Blues don't win their final game in regulation. That really opens up the door for Calgary. So I still think it's a big hill to climb for the Flames, but they just have to win 3 games and get a little bit of help. So it's totally possible for Calgary. But love seeing the Flames fan in here with the thank you. That's one of the fun parts when you're out of it, completely in a season like this, is to be able to kind of play spoiler, help other teams out. I don't know. I mean, Kraken fans, you can tell me in the chat, how do you feel about helping Calgary? Because I know, the Flames aren't exactly the most popular team with the Kraken, given the history with Vince Dunn last year, Martin Pospisil, and all of that. So let me know in chat how you feel about helping the Calgary Flames versus hurting the St. Louis Blues. I mean, if you have a preference one over the other, and kind of how you feel about the Kraken playing spoiler. I'm curious to kind of read the room here. Let's see. Yeah, Amanda Green. Tolvy's goal was pretty. I think I saw that when we were discussing the shootout. It was really nice. I love that move. I did not know he had that one in his bag. I don't think I've seen that from him at practice, but good for him there. Anthony, really happy for Grubauer. Hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows, but he's handled it all with class. Most of the team's moments have been with him and net, all love. And I think that's something worth talking about too, is that, it's never easy for a big money goalie, big contract goalie getting sent down to the minors. That's kind of rock bottom for your NHL career there. And, the way he handled it, just getting in the reps, improving himself and coming out the other side better and handling it with class too. I mean, I know he was, involved, doing horse stuff down in Coachella Valley. I know he loves horses. Like, he didn't just try and do his time and get it out of the way in CV. I think he really made the most of it. And I think that is worth a lot of credit there for Gruby. Let's see. Viren, did you enjoy the high priest of head fakes or whatever John called him? I can't, of course, hear the broadcast because we're here in the arena, but that's great. I like that call if that's what he said. So I got to go back and listen to it then. John is awesome with the calls. He is undefeated here. So let's see. We've got some reaction from people on the Flames thing. See, Burnt Creme. I never care about helping any team. Why Shane should be 2C and all the young guys should be playing. Nobody remembers spoilers. I do think there's an element of nobody really remembering spoilers. I think people just remember the teams that got spoiled. Stephanie, nope, I will never supporting the Flames. Interesting. Stratic, don't care about helping the Flames. Giving them false hope to later be crushed is kind of nice, though. That's the thing. I think that's what it will ultimately end up doing, is probably giving them some false hope. But interesting, yeah. Edward, Kraken win, Binnington loses, helping Calgary is acceptable collateral damage. It's like when you weigh it, Calgary versus St. Louis, it's not like St. Louis is very likable on the other side either. So Alberta in general. Dang, okay, the whole province. Gru is the deep seahorse, and we always love him like that from Amanda. And then Sylvie on Grubauer, he handled it with total class. We loved having him here, and I love hearing that from a Firebirds fan down there in CV. Sylvie, always appreciate your perspective on all the bird stuff. So that was certainly our impression up here, but glad you agree from down there. Okay, this is Striatic. You know how to get me with the spoilers thing. I still remember Timo Meyer and the Sharks spoiling Vegas. That was pretty awesome. So, of course, then Vegas wins the cup the next year, and butterfly effect. Maybe they don't if they don't get spoiled. I don't know. But if there's ever going to be an argument that's going to win me over in favor of the spoilers, that is it. I remember watching the game in the apartment with my brother, and we were just freaking out. It was awesome. The first time I'd felt like a fan in a couple of years. So that is great. No Rats or Kraken fans in Alberta. That is great, Russ. That is a good reference there. Viren, if we beat a team directly to eliminate them, it might be different. Actually, that's another good argument there too, is that you can do damage to a team's playoff chances, but if you can directly eliminate them in a game, especially if it's late, like that makes the difference if it's their last game. that's got to be a different feeling, and I imagine a better one. So that's another element of playing spoiler. But Kraken will not have that opportunity against LA next game. But this one could end up making the difference for St. Louis. We just don't know it right now. Lindsay headed from Alaska to Spokane in a few hours to see Catton in round 2 of the playoffs. Awesome. Love that for you, Lindsay. Let us know in the post-game chat how he did. How does he look? For the next game, if you can, if you're able to make it, would love to hear your takeaway from seeing Berkeley Catton. I've still been meaning to get out to a game and see him, but maybe if they go far enough and, if they play Everett or something, maybe I can get out there. Firmly anti-Flames from Amanda. Zoe, hope the Flames lose. Oh man, yeah, a lot of anti-Flames sentiment in here. As I see Dylan getting ready. Where'd he go? I thought I saw him walking around here. Maybe I missed him. Where'd Dylan go? All right. Well, I thought I saw him, but I bet he'll join probably pretty soon. Is that not Dylan? I guess it wasn't. All right. Sorry, everybody. George, I don't get the playing spoiler moral victories either. I only care about the Kraken and Kraken's future. I could care less about helping or hurting the Flames Blues. I understand that sentiment. And I think also with the playing spoiler, I think it really can be important, but if it's against a rival, that's where it is important. And that's where I really felt it with the Sharks and Golden Knights when Timo Meier kind of helped spoil it for Vegas, was the Sharks' biggest rival. And if you can spoil a playoff appearance for them, that's when it really matters. But I really think the Kraken don't have any proper rivals yet. And so that means there's no team that we're really going to care about being spoiler to yet. I think at a certain point, the Kraken will have a proper rival, and when that happens, like playing spoiler to them or hurting them in any way, that's going to be something that we care about. Viren, I also don't care about being broadly remembered. Interesting. Rooting for a team because you think it will make other people respect you is weird. That's an interesting kind of like for philosophical points about fandom in general. And it'd be interesting to get Dylan's take on that too. Is now I do see him. Like that is definitely Dylan. 100% I know that is Dylan. He's setting up the ring light. So he should be on to join us pretty soon. So I'm going to scroll up in chat and see if there's anything that I missed, because I did probably scroll over a few other things. But anybody, if you have questions for Dylan on what the players said or anything like that, get them in right now, because he should be joining us fairly soon. Jason, should a shootout goal be a power play goal? Interesting. I mean, I think I brought up at one point Kate Shefty's take that a 4-on-4 goal should be counted as a power play goal. I'll ask her if a shootout goal should be counted as a power play goal. It is one skater on 0, so that's a power play of sorts. You can make the argument for it. Interesting question there, Jason. Fusion Mix, those Firebirds alt jerseys in Kraken colors look awesome. Would love to see an alternate Kraken set in Firebirds colors. That would be really fun. I don't think the Kraken would do that because it wouldn't fit in the theme nights, but that would be great. I would love that. All right, so I see Dylan getting ready, and Dylan has given me the thumbs up. Dylan, welcome. Hey. Imagine it was probably pretty fun down there after this big win. Tell me, I'll let you start wherever you want to. I'm sure there were some fantastic quotes from the players or from Dan, but just take it away. Let me know what the reaction was.
Yeah, I know there's some good stuff from the players. Started off with Chandler Stevenson and then Jaden Schwartz, and it was mostly like the generic kind of positive stuff about how big it is to win a close game like this against a competitive team in the playoff spot, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. Then we get Shane Wright. And Shane Wright gave us some good stuff, especially when it came to the goal that he scored and the review process while they were reviewing it, whether or not it was going to stand. He kind of walked us through what he saw during that play, which was he was just driving to the net. He knew the puck was going to kind of be there. He wanted to be there for it. Something that he's kind of been trying to focus on is to get more, near and around the crease there. And as he was coming in, he went to pull his stick around, realized it was tied up, so he was just kind of hoping that he could get any part of his body on the puck, and he kind of felt it down in his skates, looked down, and it was rolling in. He was asked at any point, what did you think about it as it was going to review, as they say that they're going to review it. What are you thinking about when that kind of happens? And he said, I thought it was a goal for sure until I watched a replay, and then it looked like maybe I moved my skate a little bit there. And so he said he got nervous, but he said that whole replay process when you're there on the bench with the guys, it's just everybody telling you, nah, man, you're good. This is a goal. You've got this, all of that kind of stuff. But he made it sound like the longer that review was going, and it did go a decent amount. I mean, we were starting to
Longer
get a
than I
little
thought it
worried.
would.
Yeah, we were starting to get worried there. It sounds like Shane Wright, the doubt and the worry was creeping in for him too down there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. And that's interesting because it kind of matches how I felt about it. At first glance, I was like, okay, definitely not a kick. That's
Yeah.
going to count for sure. And then I saw the replay where his skate just kind of turns when it hits the puck. I don't know. Could there be something there? And I still think they made the right call, but I was definitely less sure too. So interesting to hear that's basically the same for Shade and kind of how he saw it.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And then just some talk from him about how he's progressed over the course of the season and how great it's been to be up here and to be able to do everything that he's been doing. He feels like his game has really grown over the course of the season and that he's been able to, just kind of work on all the stuff as the coaching staff and the organization kind of wants him to work on things, that he's been able to go out there and do that and have success this year and build confidence. And especially here late in the season, wanting to finish strong, not just for himself so that he can build off of it for next year, but also for the rest of the team around him. And then especially the fans talked a bit about how important it would be for them to pick up a win on Tuesday and kind of end the season on the high note for themselves, but more importantly, send everybody off, all the fans off for the season on a high note. And so
Yeah.
that was good stuff there.
Yeah, no, that's going to be important, I think, to try and send everyone off on a high note. And also with Shane, did he talk about kind of playing with Asimont and Karche on that line? And, not necessarily the fourth line aspect of it, but just, kind of how he approaches that role in that setup, because we did get fourth line Shane Wright again, but he does score a goal. That line does score 2 goals. So, good results at least.
He was asked about this. I believe it was Piper who asked about playing with Mikey Asimont, and this is what Otter recorded for me here. I'll just transcribe right off the transcription. Mikey was amazing tonight. He's been amazing for us ever since he got traded here, and he's fast, brings a lot of energy, a lot of passion. He's getting up and down the ice. He's finishing hits, and he's a great guy in the room as well. I like playing with him a lot. So there you go.
Sounds like a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, sounds pretty good to me. I figured I might as well just use his own words there when it comes to Mikey Asimont. And obviously, we've talked about it. We're seeing those things. We're noticing all of those things. Just kind of perfect fourth line player out there on the ice, Mikey Asimont. You literally could not ask for more out of a fourth line guy. Can provide a little bit of scoring touch for you. Has the speed, has the forechecking ability, has just the ability to really pressure the other team, keep possession kind of going in a positive direction, from a fourth line where that's really the most that you can hope for, right? If they score, that's great. You take it, obviously. But really, fourth line traditionally in the NHL is let's send them out there, keep bad stuff from happening, let the big guys rest, and then they can get back out there and go to work. And Mikey Asimont kind of does that single-handedly. It almost doesn't even matter who's out there with him on the fourth line. He just kind of does it all himself.
Yeah, he's been driving the bus on that line, whoever he's with. And yeah, I'm totally sold. I would love the Kraken to bring him back as long as it's at a reasonable price point, which shouldn't be too difficult. Did you hear from any of the other players? Was it Stevenson? It was Wright.
Schwartz first, and then we got Shane Wright. Yeah. Like I said, wasn't too much from those guys.
What about Dan then? All right, let's move on to Dan here. First of all, did he talk about the decision for the various shootout shooters and the selection and everything?
Not.
And why not Adam Larson?
He did not. No questions about the shootout. Didn't talk about the shootout at all, which is interesting. And I thought it was interesting too.
Got to send me down there next time, man.
I know. Just real quick before you can ask on Monday. Got practice on Monday.
That's true. That's a better format anyway.
Yes. Going back to the other two players, they were both asked kind of how did this game end up this way, right? Because it's super low event through the first 2 periods, right?
That's
and then
true, yeah,
like just super low event, and then it just explodes and you get all these goals. Next thing you know, it's 3-3, it's going to overtime, you get through overtime, you go to the shootout. How does that happen? What's that like? And both Chandler Stevenson and Jaden Schwartz basically gave the same answer, which was just like, oh, yeah. And
Yeah, I don't know.
Schwartz elaborated on it a little bit more, basically implied like that's just hockey, right? Like that's just what can happen in this league is at any given moment, teams in this league, players in this league can just change the game on a dime and kind of go out there and have it kind of end up like this. And so I did think that was fun from them, but it was just really funny that they both were just like, that's yeah.
And I feel like if you've watched enough hockey, that almost speaks for itself, that answer.
It does.
Because it is such a hockey thing. And it's one of the things I love about hockey is that it's so momentum driven and it can just change on a dime at any time and any place.
It's true. I mean, that's one of the great things about this sport. The way that it's built is that it is kind of free flowing and that stuff like this can happen, that big momentum swings can really play out. There's not starts and stoppages the way that there is in other sports. I mean, you can in theory have an entire 20-minute period played in 20 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's very few other sports that can happen, right? It's like this in soccer essentially. And so I do think that, I guess, basketball, if they just could not hit a shot to save their lives,
Yeah, I guess
play out a quarter in basketball.
Possible, but man, that'd be a bad quarter of basketball.
Yeah, it would be pretty abysmal. But yeah, it's very unique, and it was one of those things where, as they're like kind of expressing that, and they don't really have words for it. If you've been around hockey, like you knew what they meant, right? Like their lack of words, you knew what was said in that, yeah. Spoke a lot. And if you've been around hockey, you know what that meant. And it's basically how I feel about it too, right? Like this game, it just happens.
I love that. No, that is actually like a great answer, even in just a one word. That's awesome. I mean, did Dan have anything to say about like the momentum of the game and kind of how it all happened? Or was he just like, yeah, too?
A little bit. He did like the coach version of which is just to like repeat the sequence of events that happened. So it wasn't as interesting. It was just kind of like, we get a goal and then they got a couple and then we get Wright goes to the net and that was cool. And then we end up tied. But Dan did have a couple things to say. I'm going to start with the most interesting thing. It was the last thing that was talked about, and that was about Philip Grubauer. Talked about how important it was for him to go out there and play this game and get the win, and especially because Philip Grubauer is still apparently not feeling well. And that it was,
is he still under the weather from the bug?
He said that he thought about it. He said he wasn't feeling well, and then he thought about it, and he said, I'm going to say that he's still recovering from what kept him out in Utah, and that he said that by the end of this one, he was just completely spent. He was completely exhausted. And you got to think, yes, you're a goalie. You're trying to fight back from illness. You get into this game. You're not feeling well. Of course, it ends up going to overtime. Of course, it ends up going through a long shootout, and you're just kind of stuck out there. And so it adds like a whole nother dimension to Philip Grubauer's performance tonight, which, look, I thought was pretty solid. Kind of throughout. I thought he did a great job in overtime, did a good job in the shootout as well. But yes, knowing that he is still not at 100%, we'll say, instead of saying that he's sick, just to kind of borrow the language that Dan was starting to use there. I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that seems to be the consensus in here, is that Crew had a solid performance, and that I was impressed by the resilience, especially in the shootout. Like, it's really hard when you let in the first 2 goals in a shootout, and you're just probably thinking like, well, one, you're just exhausted, as we know. And you're thinking, oh, here we go again, especially that one that went off the post, back off him and in. Yeah. That has to feel like it's just not meant to happen for you tonight.
What are you supposed to do? You've done right. You did it.
That must be in your head, and yet to kind of shake that off and respond the way that he did, I just thought was really impressive. And you could tell how much it meant to all the guys, and I'm glad, kind of Dan got a sense for that too. And that has definitely been the number one theme in chat here from the very beginning, is how happy everybody, if this is the way that Grubauer goes out as a Kraken, it's a good way to go out.
It is. It was a pretty good performance from him, kind of epic how it all went down. And then, like I said, that added element, kind of understanding that after the fact from Coach Dan Bylsma, it adds something more to it as well. It kind of just makes it that much more impressive on top of everything. But I will say this, right? Like, just given how the game ended, it's so special. I know, okay, Crack could pick up 2 points, all that kind of stuff. Like, we know what that's going to do for them draft lottery wise and whatever.
Yes, but that has been talked about as well. Yes.
Going through a shootout like that, and I believe this is the longest shootout I've ever attended in person, was this game. And going through a shootout like that, and it's going long, and you have the drama like that. I think the drama was heightened by the Kraken shooting first as well. I think that like adds like this kind of sinister undertone of like you're almost like kind of waiting to see what the Blues can do each time, right? And it makes it that much more uncomfortable. I think when the other team is shooting second and it starts going to those just single rounds after you get through the first three, and seeing the way that this building exploded when they were able to win it, and just how happy everybody was, and taking in that sight of Climate Pledge Arena with that swell of emotion. It was one of the more like special times this season, it felt like, for this building and for the crowd. And so it's one of those where that I think is going to really be like my memory. If this is the last game for Philip Grubauer as a member of the Seattle Kraken in this building, that's going to be my memory, is him making those saves late in the shootout, and then having this building have that moment, having these fans have that moment afterwards, him giving them that, him giving this whole building that release from all of that tension through a very exciting 3-on-3 overtime with some good chances in the back and forth play, and then the long shootout there. And so I think that's kind of how I'm going to always think of this for him.
Yeah, agreed. I think the two things I'm going to think of really is this game, and then of course the playoff run a couple of years ago with him, and kind of how he was lights out. So it's a good memory to have if it is kind of the end for him. And then I do want to get your opinion on one more thing that we talked about in chat before this. The
Okay.
idea of playing spoiler. We had a Flames fan in here that was saying thank you for helping
Yeah.
Calgary and the effect there. And I was curious what everyone thought of the idea of playing spoiler and how much that mattered to everybody, and helping Calgary specifically. I know Calgary is not the most popular team here in Seattle. So there was a pretty much a consensus opinion among just about everybody in chat, but I wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously nobody on the team side of things said anything about it. Look, I think it can be fun. I think if we're talking late season, I would rather, and this kind of goes to what Dan talked about first, which is, just wanting to see the guys play for each other, see them build some positive momentum late in the season, give the fans something late in the season, and just kind of play well and finish strong, kind of for yourself, for your own development, for all of that kind of stuff. And I feel like for me, that's what's most important in a year like this, like knowing that, losses technically help you more than wins at this point. If I'm going to see wins, then I want to see wins where the guys play well, the young players play well. You're starting to see development. You're seeing growth that can hopefully carry over for the future. That's the kind of stuff that I think I'm looking for, and that, kind of makes the wins feel okay for me, or it gets me excited about the wins this time of year. Playing spoiler, I guess maybe if it was more of like a division rival that you're really spoiling, if this was, wins here was helping keep Vegas out of the playoffs, maybe I would get a little bit more excited. But Calgary, St. Louis, Minnesota, all being in that mess, like it's not really my thing. But I totally get it from other people's perspective, because it is fun when you see it.
Yeah, it is fun, and I think that's kind of where the agreement came to. I think a lot of people, just about everybody in chat, not a fan of helping Calgary, and a lot of people really didn't care very much about playing spoiler. And I said I think it's because the Kraken don't really have a real rival yet, and when you do, that comes up. I know Stratic brought up too, like Timo Meier and the Sharks spoiling Vegas a few years ago, keeping them out of the playoffs. And I remember the emotion I felt after that game. Like, yeah, no, that's what it was. It was that it was a rival. So I was just curious for your take on it. Thank you.
Right. And, one could argue that one of the teams that we've gotten closest to building that kind of true rivalry with is actually Calgary. right?
Yeah.
You think of the
So you're
pospisil hit
helping
on
them.
Vince
Yeah.
Dunn. You just like the emotions. The last game that we played against them, I think up in Calgary, and the way they came back and won it, and what Nazem Kadri was able to do, and everything like that. It seems like they're the most physical and kind of aggressive games. It always feels like the Kraken are kind of on the wrong side of that physical and aggressive nature from Calgary. So I don't think that, yes, beating the Blues to kind of help Calgary probably feels like we're winning in the spoiler category for most Kraken fans, actually.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think a lot of people in here would agree with you. So I want to turn back to chat. Thank you, everybody, for being patient while Dylan kind of told us what's up here. But we have some stuff in chat to kind of catch back up on. We'll start. Where is it? Elbel. Penalty shot goals count, though, don't they? Is that really any different than a shootout goal? So I was explaining to everybody that a shootout goal doesn't count toward a player's goal stats.
Yeah.
So if Shane Wright had scored there, it would not have been his 20th of the season. Penalty shot goals do count. And the reason they count is because it's basically a continuation of a breakaway, essentially. When a penalty shot's awarded, or it's because a player's taken down on a breakaway, and so you're kind of putting them back in that position. I mean, also, I guess you cover the puck in the crease with the glove and all that. That can cause a penalty shot as well. But basically, it takes away an imminent scoring chance. So that still counts because it is in play and it's awarded as a result of something that happened there. Versus the shootout, the shot is just awarded to you because it's the next thing that happens.
Right. I mean, it's really like, the game is kind of over by the time you get to a shootout, right? Like the confines of the game from a stats perspective is over. Like this game has ended. Goalie save percentage is not going to get affected by shootout shots. Players are not going to get awarded goals based on what happens there because, already overtime is like an extra period. This is like an extra event just to decide a winner. Because before, games just ended in ties. Like you would have just hit the end of overtime. It's just over. So they just kind of slapped this on there so that there could be some sort of definite end to everybody's evening. And so it is just, it doesn't like it. The best way I can describe it is it just doesn't occur during play. Like it just does, like play has ended, the game has essentially ended, and then it's just shootout just so somebody can walk away a winner and somebody can walk away a loser, and we don't have a tie anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it really is that kind of gimmick skills competition that we talk about it as, right? It's kind of separate from the game, and I think it would be a shame if the goals counted, if shootout goals counted toward player goals, because it would skew things in a way I would not like.
Yeah.
But good comparison there, because I mean, it's a very good question as why penalty
Yeah.
shot goals count and shootout goals don't count, and then some jersey talk as well. Let's see. Coco, if the Kraken do a Bondo red eye black on black alternate jersey, take my money. And then Jenna, I would buy that. Yes. Burnt Creme, I've been hoping for a black jersey with blue anchor as the logo. Either way, not sure why they have no alternate yet. Kraken Queen wants a black Hockey Fights Cancer jersey. And then Edward, not a fan of BFBS. Give me an anchor logo alternate instead, please. And Stephanie loves the Black Hockey Fights Cancer jersey idea. I mean, lots of jersey stuff here. Coco, we had the Retro and Winter Classic jersey. No alternates here because of the change in vendor from Adidas to Fanatics. Exactly. And then next year, I think we might see something, right? As Fanatics might, I think it might be a league-wide thing next year, right?
Yeah, that's what the indications have led us to believe anyway. That's what the situation would be. I think, yes, so we're obviously ready for like kind of a more permanent-ish third jersey, something like that, having the reverse retro, having the Winter Classic. That's all fun and good, but I think having something a little bit more concrete that fans can kind of add to their repertoire as they come out to games would be nice. As for those some of those options, yeah, I think if you did kind of like a red eye jersey, just for a lack of a better word for it right now, I think that would be interesting. I do agree that I for third jersey though, I feel like I want a different crest on the chest. You know what I mean?
Just something other than what they've gone with.
Yeah. You want something different, something a little bit more special around that. Now, I'm going to say something that nobody has mentioned, and this would also be like really different.
Okay.
Let's have a green jersey. Because I'm telling you, walking into Climate Pledge tonight, because it was, it's Earth Day and then the
It is
celebration
green
and all
night.
of that.
It is green
It's
night.
green night. Walking in, having the green lights on, it just suits this building, right? The way when they have the
Yeah.
banners, the digital banners are kind of like a greenish teal, and then they have the green lights on up top, and they're shining the green down on the fans and everything. Like when you walked in today, kind of pre warm-ups and everything was lit up green, and the windows open, and it's, you know, it's late enough in the year now that it's still light outside, and you're seeing all the greenery out there. It felt Pacific Northwest. And I was like, you know what, this is a total vibe. It's different. I love the light blue. I'm a huge light blue fan in general for like everything, but there is something, it's not a very rich color when it's coming across through digital banners or through lights shown down on a crowd, right? Like you want something with a little bit of a deeper saturation, I feel like, sometimes, for more effect. That's why the red light coming down on people looks a little bit more impactful than when we just get that light blue light that we normally get during most Kraken games, because it's so close to a white light. Like it doesn't really add this kind of like extra effect to everything. The green light adds an extra effect as they're shining it around the arena, as they shine it down on fans and people. And so I really wouldn't mind seeing maybe a third jersey where you really just go with a whole new color scheme for that jersey and you make it green.
And Lindsay saying deep sea kelp green, Kraken
Yeah.
jersey and Sonic. So, well, that's my question though, Dylan, is okay, if you're going green, like what's the secondary color? What does this jersey look like? Because I think the big danger area is it potentially looking like a Canucks jersey.
Yeah, so you'd probably have
Green
to
and
avoid
blue, you
blue.
know?
Right, you would have to avoid blue. I think, look, there's different options. You could go and just call it like Metropolitans kind of inspired, and you can have red if you're going to be like light with the red. I think light red striping on it would be something, and then you're also not, you know, you're not copying the Canucks, you're not copying the Seahawks, you're not copying the Mariners, you're not also avoiding the yellow, which would be the Sonics and the Storm.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would kind of make you a little bit unique, but you would kind of have that, like it's an option there.
Okay, I think that that could
Or go with,
potentially work. You
or
just have to make sure to avoid blue. I don't want a Canucks
right.
looking
I'm
jersey.
with you there. I'm totally there with you. But you could also not have a specific other color. Like just have it be green and then use white and black.
Yeah, I guess you could. And Byron, no, not the Canucks million color scheme approach. And I do kind of agree with that generally. Like if you do go green, it kind of has to be your only other thing, and then you cannot go anywhere else color wise. And you
Look,
can't go with a red jersey later. Like
I know. I'm just saying, like, okay, we're gonna have the anchor jersey, and it'll be like reverse retro colored, and it's gonna feel like something different probably year one, and then it's just going to feel like another Kraken jersey. This would be like, okay, we're actually doing alternate jersey night.
yeah, well, here's the thing. I wouldn't mind seeing. I would like to see the ice blue, you know, as a primary. And I know like the reverse retro kind of had it on there, but I want to see it really as a proper primary. And as for the logo, because I agree with you, I want it different. And Dylan, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't think we were allowed to share these, but I know that we've seen concepts
Yes.
for Kraken logos from the beginning when they ended up settling on the Kraken logo we all know and love. But there were a number of different concepts that I think looked really cool
Mm-hmm.
from, and I wonder if they could pull one of those out and kind of add that as like a, you know, another alternate logo, because I would love to see something like that on the ice blue background. I've already kind of mocked it up
Yeah.
on a jersey on my computer in the past, but like I'm sorry we can't share these, but they look so good.
Yeah. No, I think they look good too. It's just, yeah, I again, I know everybody wants the anchor logo, but I just, I feel like we've been down this road with other teams in the past, and when you just kind of use that, you know, when you just use like a logo that's on your shoulder and you just then slap it on the chest, it doesn't feel different enough. It doesn't feel like, hey, tonight's special, we're doing something different, right? It's just like, oh, I wore my hat backwards today instead, right? You know what I mean? Like it just kind of feels that way to me. I want something that is significantly different, that keeps it so that if you're a season ticket holder or something like that, you walk in and you're like, hey, tonight is not a normal Kraken night. I'm seeing something different, and here we go. And look, if players were still allowed to wear the different Knights jerseys. I think that would happen a little bit more frequently, but that's the opportunity you have when you're going with a new jersey design, when you're going with a third jersey, is these are the ones that kind of break up the monotony of the season. And I feel like just going with the anchor, you're just kind of continuing it.
Interesting. I mean, like, the anchor, I still don't know how well it works as a primary crest. That's my main objection to it. But I do want to get to these. Where did all the
Yeah,
grooves
it
in
all
chat?
got drowned out by Gru, so obviously
It
nobody wants
did.
to
It
hear
did.
about the jerseys
Yes,
anymore.
but I do want to. So thank you for the super chat, Edward. I know we've got one before that. We can get one last Gru in chat. That is awesome seeing all the Grus from everybody. But I want to go up to the super chat that I thank you, Light, for being patient on this. Don't know if already said, after tonight, the Kraken have won more games than they did last season. Interesting to note for the post-mortem. And I think there was one comment in here earlier that said something like it was a very Kraken thing to have more wins this season, but fewer points.
Oh, it totally is. But you know what? I feel like this is a better team than last year, and I think there were sections of the season in which it took them a while to find their game or to find the style of game that they need to be playing, or Vince Dunn is injured and that just for some reason completely breaks everything that they're trying to do.
Always
But
has.
it always has. But it is one of those things where this team is significantly better than the team was last season, and I think it's a shame that they're only going to be better than last year's team by a game or two. But just visually watching them out there on the ice, the way they play, the fact that they can score and all of that kind of stuff, they are a better team, and I think that is important to remember as the season kind of wraps up here, and we're going to have to watch half of the league in the playoffs, and we're not going to be a part of it. This team was better, and you had young guys, and they look good, and the future looks good, and I think that's important.
Yeah, I think it was better from the perspective of the young guys, for sure. I won't do my whole argument. Yeah, Len Byron saying way less streaky. That is for sure. Cannot debate that.
As inconsistent as this team still
It's
is,
weird because I think
there was more consistency.
Yeah, I think they actually, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I think they actually were more consistent than last year. We're talking about, the 9-game win streak, 9-game losing streaks. Wow. Did we really go through that whole season? Did that happen?
Let's put it this way. Last season, there were many times where I was like texting you, like, I cannot do this anymore.
I remember.
I didn't really do that this year, right? Like
that is true.
That is a difference, and that's a difference between a losing streak stopping at 3 or 4 or going 9.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh man. Okay, so I'm gonna go back up in chat and see kind of what I missed here too. I just kind of want to do a last call. Oh, Edward super chat. Yeah, for get the last Gru in chat.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, but kind of do a last call here in chat. I'll go up and see if I missed some things, but which I'm sure I did because there's so much in chat. Which, by the way, thank you everybody. Super active chat tonight. Really love that as always. As I see lots of just stuff on the Kraken jerseys and the green stuff. Mason goes to show how strong the league is this year, that more wins is going to get us a top 5 pick. I mean, it is still fewer points, but the league is, more teams, we talked about it on regular, more teams are going for it this year. It feels like there are very few teams that are really in the thick of a rebuild. And so it does present, as I said, a unique opportunity to maybe pick top 5 when you're not a god-awful team that the Kraken might take advantage of. So, and yeah, as Terrible Lotus pointing out, yeah, Lightning and Leafs are basically like, the originality isn't a necessity with the colors, but man, I hate when the Leafs play the Lightning. It looks terrible.
Right. And I know like people are saying like, oh, I would worry, like, I think it was Striatic. I would worry it would look like a Minnesota Wild jersey. Right. Here's the problem. We've seen like every color scheme or any good, decent one already. Yeah. Right. Like no matter what you end up choosing to go with, you're going to be like, well, it kind of reminds me of this because it's just the way it is.
There's one good color scheme or, main color that has just been like abandoned in the NHL.
Yeah, it's purple.
The Kraken, it's purple. The Kraken can't pick it up because it's not for them. But man, the Kings really dropped the ball on that one. And so hope someone steals purple. I wanted Utah to steal purple from them, but it seems like they're not going to do it. So Marshawn Lynch driving a Zamboni logo permanent third jersey. There you go.
Yeah, and I like this. My favorite like color scheme in the world, and so many things in my life are this. It is light blue and pink. I love the hot pink with the light blue. I'm all for that. Actually, give me pastel versions. I love that even more. So I see like Jenna, there's hot pink, Terrible Lotus pink. We could have a cherry blossom pink scheme. I would be down with the ice blue with pink as the secondary color. I would absolutely be down for something like that. I don't know that the team would ever do it.
Probably not. I don't think that'd be all that popular with most of the players. I think but still, that would be fun. Again, it would work as like a theme jersey, like a college night, cherry blossom, for UW. That'd
Yep.
be awesome. But that would be great. And then
And I don't know
Super
what
Chat,
logo you use for it either.
yeah, you can make like a theme version. Yeah, the Kraken and cherry blossom just does not go together. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
But super chat here from Kin's Quest. This is the team I expected to see at the start of the season. So glad this hasn't looked like late last season. And it definitely is not as depressing as late last year. I think we were all kind of just completely done with it at the end of last year. And I don't know. And I think also I just want to tie in for what Elbel is saying here. More than anything, this season I appreciated having faith that this team could come back from any deficit. I definitely didn't feel that last season. I think that's one of the things that's made it more fun is that it's never over. They could be down 3 in the third, and it's never really over. Like if they just decide to flip that switch, they're going to make it close.
Yeah, no, this team was so much more watchable this year, right? Like again, sports are entertainment. This team was infinitely more entertaining than the team was last season, and that really counts for something.
Yeah, definitely. And Coco pointed out Fowler came back after his blood loss. I didn't notice that, but good for him, man.
Yeah, I did notice him one more shift out there in the third period. I picked it up because again, I see the Blues, I see 17, and my mind goes, "Whoa, Jaden Schwartz abandoned us," and he went back. And then I'm like, oh no, that's Cam Fowler actually, which is insane to me. It's so wrong. Why is his number 17? It makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense at all. I don't get it. But and then Kylie just got back from the game, so probably missed a ton. You missed a lot of Gruz in chat. You missed some talk about this team being more entertaining than last year. You missed some talk about some Kraken jerseys. There was a lot there, but you can always go back and watch it here. Yeah, but good to have you in chat. Thank you for checking in too, Kylie, especially after like coming back from the game. I feel like, a lot of people are like, all right, cool, that happened, but appreciate you coming in like around the hour mark too. And with that, like you missed a pretty good post game live. Like I'm happy with how this one went. I'm happy with how happy everybody is. It's I think definitely a different feel than if just a shootout bounce or two had gone the other way and we were talking about an OTL and a loser point and everything. We can talk about Grubauer potentially going out the right way and just, celebrate this game for what it was.
Oh, definitely. No, like I said, this was it felt like a special one to be at. Just the way it all went down, especially at the end. It was a fantastic one. Really happy to see it. Really happy to see Gru play as well as he did. And just had a great time.
And really happy to see you have the opportunity to point down at our sponsor, Queen Anne Beer Hall, who I want to thank one more time before we wrap up this post-game live.
I'll do all the stuff the Kraken players do on the KHN broadcasts.
It looks just like it. That is awesome. Good job, Dylan. You've been watching enough of those broadcasts. I mean,
they always like kind of come in from like the side, right? Like
Yes, I think Queen Anne Beer Hall definitely deserves that treatment, and I know we're going to want to watch some playoff games there as well when the time comes, but want to give a big shout out to Queen Anne Beer Hall, and thank everybody who gave super chats in this one too, active as far as those as well. So thank you so much, everyone who gave super chats. Thanks everyone who joined us, and we will see you after the season finale on Fan Appreciation Night.